Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Travis Jingledecker, and I'm a director at Aperio Philanthropy. Aperio is a nonprofit consulting firm with a vision for a world in which everyone can thrive. We exist to unleash the power of communities to drive change by dramatically expanding resources for nonprofits. Day to day, we work alongside community leaders and fundraisers to develop simpler, faster, and smarter ways to generate the revenue for nonprofit missions. Our client services provide strategic advisory, hands-on support, and embedded fundraisers for organizations nationwide. We are excited to be hosting a three-part series this summer, the Relationship-Based Fundraising Toolbox, where we will be going back to the basics of relationship-based fundraising. Today's webinar will be the second part of this series and will focus on creating a donor engagement plan, where we will be building off of the last session on organizing your donor lists. As questions come up, please submit them via the Q&A tool, and they will be addressed at the end of today's session. Within a week's time, we will also share a recording of today's webinar alongside a link that you can use to access a donor engagement plan template. It is now my pleasure to kick it over to our facilitators for today, Kelly Bronig and Catherine Tudor.
Thank you, Travis. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second session of this year's summer series. Today, we're going to be focusing on creating a donor engagement plan. Summer tends to be the season of organization for development teams. It's when we're stepping away from our busy day-to-day and preparing for the year ahead. We believe that your mission, your donors, and your team all have more potential, and we are here to make that simple for you to realize that potential. So as you'll hear today, we're passionate about going beyond great ideas. We know that the challenge is less often what we need to do, but rather how to get it done among competing priorities that all of us face. For years, we've been listening, learning, and distilling what works into a clear roadmap that any nonprofit can follow. And as you can see here in front of you, the building blocks of that roadmap are your people, having a clear business model, and of course, fostering a culture of philanthropy. Today, we'll cover the donor engagement plan topic as a key element to implementing this roadmap and unlocking new fundraising potential. My name is Kelly Bronig. I currently work with Aperio as a senior advisor. I've spent my career leading strategy in the fundraising operations space for nonprofit organizations across the country. I am especially passionate about helping organizations level up their operations and implementing efficiencies to help create a solid foundation for development teams to better serve the mission. Today, I have the pleasure of being here with Catherine Tudor. Catherine, I'll kick it to you for a quick introduction.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Tudor, and I'm a senior director here at Aperio. So far, my career has been focused on connecting people to resources. And so prior to Aperio, I co-founded Hawaii's largest contemporary art festival, in which we connected our local community to world-class contemporary art and the world to Hawaii's talented creative community. Then after years of serving as an executive director there, I started running my own consulting firm that served nonprofits, after which I was thrilled to join Aperio Philanthropy, where I work closely with executive directors, development teams, and boards to grow their development programs with data-driven and relationship-based fundraising.
Thank you, Catherine. So during our last session, we talked about how to organize and segment your list and the ways in which your database has more potential to support that full process. Today, we're taking the next step in stitching everything together, and we're going to be talking about how to create a donor engagement plan. That is, to create an efficient, effective way to consistently bring your organization's why to each of your donor segments. We're going to talk through what a donor engagement plan is, how to create that plan, and finally, and really most importantly, how to use your newly created plan that you've just invested in. A few quick housekeeping items to reiterate from Travis before. This session is being recorded and it will be shared with you as a follow-up. We're going to turn off the recording at the end of the presentation portion of our time today, and we'll have time after the presentation for a Q&A. So feel free to start dropping your questions into the Q&A tool and we'll address them at the end of the session. Thank you all. So let's kick off here. I want to talk with you all about what a donor engagement plan is and why it's crucial to work this plan throughout the year. We tend to use the word engagement rather than stewardship for two reasons. One, it reflects that we're talking about the full donor cycle, both cultivation prior to a gift and then stewardship after the gift has actually been made and received. And two, it stresses our belief that cultivation and stewardship serve donors best when they are interactive or you're genuinely engaging rather than an organization simply talking at donors. Our definition of stewardship is the culture, practices, and processes that provide every donor a meaningful experience that grows their relationship, engagement, and giving over time. Now, notice the three pieces of that definition that I just shared. First, stewardship is something that we do. It's a combination of culture, practices, and processes that we build with intention. Second, stewardship has a clear purpose: to provide every single donor with a meaningful experience. And finally, third, stewardship's ROI is in the growth of our relationship with a donor, as well as their giving and engagement over time. Now, we want to consider defining goals. Internally or from your organization's perspective, an engagement plan combined with an organized list, which we discussed in the first session, ensures that first, as you see here, no donor is falling through the cracks. Second, all donors are treated well, but not necessarily equally. And what I mean by that is you're creating special opportunities for donors as they grow in their impact on your mission. And finally, everyone on the team knows their part and is playing it. That's a key piece. So engagement is simple and seamless. It's not a confusing hassle to get each mailing or cultivation event planned. Finally, externally, the donor is going to feel that their gifts are being used well and as they intended them to be used. Their partnership actually makes a difference, and that they see a role for themselves in the future of the mission. They're fully engaged.
All right. So now that you've heard about why having a plan to engage your donors throughout the year is important, we're going to dig into how to create that plan. So before you get into the nitty-gritty of planning, I want you to take some time to get creative. Pull together your colleagues for a brainstorming session. Set aside any practical considerations for this conversation. We don't want you to overthink about what you did in the past or how, when, where, or with whom you want to implement those ideas in the future. Don't worry about how things are going to get operationalized. Simply use this as an opportunity to confirm everything you are already doing, all the tools you already have in your toolkit, and then generate potential new ideas. So make the most comprehensive list you can imagine by answering the following questions. What are all the ways we can acknowledge and thank donors for their giving? And what I mean by this is, how can we show, or how can I do to what can I do to show gratitude immediately following a gift? Secondly, what are the ways in which we can recognize and celebrate their generosity? Meaning, how can I contribute to demonstrate that gratitude throughout the year? And then, what are all the ways we can show them the impact of their gift? Meaning, how could I communicate that donors' gifts are being used as they intended? Then we're going to get to what are ways we can help them experience the mission firsthand, or how can we bring our mission to life for donors? And then, what are all the ways we can connect them to our community and create a sense of belonging? In other words, what opportunities do we have for donors to engage with each other? Most importantly, take great notes. These ideas will serve you for years to come. So even if you don't use them in this year, you might in the future. And then once you have your list, then you can think about what to do now and what you might want to implement in years to come. So start by brainstorming with your colleagues. That's the first step. Consider convening a small cross-functional working group that includes fundraising, marketing and communications, programs and leadership. Discuss the opportunities you will see, and then ask your colleagues how investment in this area will help them achieve their objectives. We also, for your marketing communication colleagues, They're going to be excited to pursue new opportunities and audiences for their content. Your program staff might look forward to elevating the voices of those they serve and securing more investment in priority programs. And leadership may experience or appreciate a more strategic, streamlined approach to engaging them in donor relationships. With a strong overall vision as well as value add for all stakeholders, you'll be well on your way to a strong engagement plan. So next, get all of your ideas down on paper. Even if you think you don't have the bandwidth to do something right away, write it down, since you never know when the right time might be to expand your offerings. And lastly, select a handful of experiences to add to your plan. It's better to start with what you know you can do and add on as you bring on additional staff or outsource elements.
I had the original goal of getting peer-to-peer launched in May. This did not happen, so it got launched in June and kind of got lost in the sauce.
Yeah, if everyone wouldn't mind muting. And lastly, select a handful of experiences to add to your plan. So it's better to start with what you know you can do now and add on later, as I mentioned, and taking on what you can, you can do effectively to help ensure your goals in developing are met. So next, we're going to create the plan. Your stewardship or engagement plan will have two pieces. The first piece is the acknowledgement and recognition plan, in which we're going to map out what a donor should receive based on their gift size this year. And then the second piece is the donor experience plan. And that's where we are going to add on more experiences based on your donor segment or potential for future growth. So for those of you that joined our last session, you'll know that Aperio believes in taking a capacity plus approach to segmentation, and this translates to the donor's experience. In this case, we're treating a donor based on how we want them to give, or how we believe they can give, with the intention that increased engagement will help them grow their giving over time. If you want more information on donor segmentation, feel free to listen to the first webinar from our summer sessions. We think about gift amount for acknowledgement and tier or segment for experiences because when we work on acknowledgement and recognition, we're thinking of exclusivity, meaning we're reserving special touches for our largest donors, folks that have already given. When we think about donor experiences, we're thinking about inclusivity. So inclusivity, bringing as many potential donors into the family as we can while ensuring efficiency and high ROI on resource and time-sensitive touchpoints. So your acknowledgement plan is your organization's comprehensive reaction to a gift. As you create a framework for acknowledgement, we recommend that you, first of all, simplify your approach to tax letters so that you can get them out as quickly as possible. One thing I notice all the time is that organizations spend unnecessary time personalizing the tax letter when most donors don't read them and simply file them away for their accountants. So we recommend you provide the same tax acknowledgement, and I'll say this again, provide the same tax acknowledgement to everyone regardless of their gift amount, and use other touch points to show your gratitude. Having an acknowledgement plan is an opportunity to go beyond the tax letter and layer on these additional touch points. So think about gift acknowledgement and recognition as intertwined and on a longer time frame than the weeks following the gift. What happens in 1 week? What happens in 3 weeks, 6 months, 1 year? As you create your plan, consider these ideas. Try to get your tax acknowledgement letter out within a week. Have a template that you use for everyone. You can mix it up every couple of months, make it short, warm, inspiring, and do an additional thank you touch point for your larger donors. Here's where your personalized letters, handwritten notes, and phone calls come in. Think about not just what gets sent, but also who sends it. For example, a thank you call from the CEO or ED could be reserved for top donors in addition to other touch points from a relationship manager. This could happen immediately following a gift or at some other point throughout the year. Then do a mid-year thank you for your top donors. This is a great way to engage your board. Every month or so, give each one a stack of cards to sign or a list of donors to call. Make it easy and fun. Within a year, deliver any recognition touch points you promised to larger donors, such as naming opportunities, donor walls, names in your annual report, listings on your websites, etc. To create what you see on this slide, from your asset catalog, carry over all the ways you're thanking donors, meaning immediately following a gift and recognizing their gifts throughout the year. When you have your plan together, map it out into this acknowledgement plan like a benefits matrix. The giving levels, as you'll notice across the top, should be specific to your organization. Think about what a mid-level major gift and principal gift mean for you. At some organizations I work with, a major gift might start at $5K, while others, it might start at $25K. So you might also have a gift amount that automatically qualifies somebody to be assigned to a relationship manager or placed in a portfolio. You'll also notice that you want to assign a lead. This is so important. This would be the person or the team responsible for making sure the touch point gets executed, not necessarily the person responsible for the execution. For example, with a handwritten note from the CEO, the lead will be the donor's relationship manager, and it'll be their responsibility to work through appropriate channels to ensure that the note is written and sent. As you develop your engagement plan, remember, acknowledgement and recognition alone are not the full picture. So to fully engage a donor and inspire ongoing, growing support, we need experiences. We need to bring the donor opportunities to see the impact of their giving, experience the mission firsthand, and connect with the community and feel a sense of belonging. So a few things to keep in mind. As we craft this part of the plan, we are thinking about your why and asking ourselves, how can we connect donors to that why? And the reason being, donors do not give to what you do, they give to why you do it. So these opportunities for connection are really important. Not every donor will take you up on all of your offers, but it is important that all receive the opportunity. So reserve the most time and resource intensive opportunities for your highest potential donors to ensure you will see a return on that investment. When we build out experiences, it's also helpful to think about ways you can personalize or customize things you are doing so that your general audience, and then make them special for donors giving at higher levels or with greater capacity. To create the donor engagement plan, we're going to marry our catalog of assets we created with donor segments. First, create the plan in a matrix, similar to how you set up your acknowledgement and recognition plan. However, you're going to notice this time, instead of current giving levels across the top, put your donor segments. You'll see here that we have 3 columns or tiers for portfolio donors. For a refresher on those tiers and how we segment them, you can revisit the first webinar in this series. You'll also notice there's a column for who's responsible for creating content. For example, a piece of collateral and who's responsible for coordinating it or getting it to the donor. Again, when we're working on acknowledgement and recognition, we're thinking of exclusivity, reserving special touch points for our largest donors. When we work on donor experiences, we're thinking about inclusivity, bringing in as many potential donors into the family as we can, while also ensuring efficiency and high ROI on resource and time-intensive touch points. So now I'm going to pass it back to Kelly, who's going to take us through some collective brainstorming.
Okay, so we're going to ask for you all to participate with us using the chat as we move through ways to catalog your assets. I just dropped a message in the chat, so you can go ahead and open it. Start dropping in specific ways that you and your team are currently thanking your donors for their gifts. And then let's take it one step further and share some ways with us that you're showing impact. So feel free to just drop things in. You can also share ways that you wish you were recognizing gifts if you had the capacity, if you had the team bandwidth. If you want to think about what you're both doing and what you wish you were doing, we want this to be kind of inspirational as well. So we have handwritten letters. Yep, handwritten twice in a row. I like seeing that threshold of 1,000 and up from the CDO, sending calls, impact reports to major donors, inviting for visits, absolutely. Board members is a great way to use resources, quarterly calls, letters, oh, a thank you email with a YouTube video showing impact. I love that. Birthday cards. Volunteer with executives as an annual event. That's very cool. Okay, I love these ideas. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. When we look at ways to thank and recognize donor gifts, what we're really looking at here is a lot of what you all just shared. We have letters, notes, videos, any sort of gifts or swag, communication, social media, any sort of recognition. And then as we consider ways to show donors the impact of their gifts, we should be considering sharing quantitative updates at meetings, sending out regular impact reports, which many of you shared that you do that, or that you wish you would do that. And of course, ensuring thoughtful storytelling and impact updates are shared in your regular donor communication channels, such as emails, socials, and so on. So that was great. I want one more round of participation here. So we just covered the gift recognition and showing impact. And I want us to think about ways that you all are helping bring your mission to life and ways that you're creating community amongst your supporters. So go ahead and in the same chat, start sharing your ideas. How are you, or how do you wish you were bringing the mission of your organization to life? In other words, how are you helping supporters see their impact and letting them engage in a hands-on way? What are ways that you're creating a sense of community, whether you're doing it in person or you're doing it virtually? Stories from the community, volunteer opportunities, absolutely. Tours, volunteering. Community Thanksgiving dinner, I love that. A giving society for select donors, absolutely. Tours, volunteer events. This is great. Oh, I see the one about inviting major donors to bring your families to that event. That's wonderful. Still sharing videos, highlights in the newsletter. I love this. You all are doing amazing work. So you shared a lot of these, and it's exactly what we would recommend. A few ways to bring the mission to life is going to be volunteer opportunities, things like town halls, tours, site visits. And additionally, you all can foster community through things like events, making sure you're considering the size and audience of your events, making sure that the invitations can be personal or general, depending on the event that you are inviting people to. Creating an ambassador program, a small group of dedicated, energized individuals who are going to go out and engage others on behalf of the organization. Use that multiplier effect with your donors as ambassadors. And then, of course, in online spaces, you can create a virtual space either through social media, your website. There are different options for you to do this. It will allow your supporters to connect with each other, and they have that shared vision of your mission at the forefront of their conversation. So thank you all for sharing everything with us. You have wonderful ideas. I'm glad to see the amazing work that you're doing. Catherine's going to take us right into using your donor engagement plan.
All right, so now that you have your plan on paper, we're going to talk about how to implement your donor engagement plan. So putting your donor engagement plan to use is all about creating that baseline experience so you know who gets what and when. Planning the work and working the plan is a bit of a mantra around here. One of my favorite things about the donor engagement plan is that it's both the plan and the mechanism to work it. Now it's time to operationalize your plan, meaning define who, what, when, and how everything will be done. Roll out the plan with your team, ensuring everyone is very clear on their roles and responsibilities. And do this by meeting regularly with everyone involved in the creation and execution of relevant elements of the plan. And use this time to refresh your plan quarterly or as needed. One last element of the plan is the calendar, which we can use as a guide to keep a 30, 60, 90-day line of sight for all of our touch points. Now it's time to convert your experience plan matrix into a calendar. This calendar is shared among departments. It includes all communications, events, and experiences, and then it spells out who will receive them by month, making it a tool for operationalizing your plan. Here you can really see the value of segmentation. It's much easier to make plans by donor group rather than having to recreate your list every time you have a new touch point to offer. So the calendar provides a bird's eye view of who gets what and when, creating a baseline experience for all donors with the opportunity to layer on personal touch points for donors under management. I personally love the calendar view. It helps you see where there are gaps in touch points over the year. A donor is very likely to support you if they only hear from you, or very unlikely to support you, more better said, if they only hear from you between October and December. So the calendar helps you make sure that you have a steady and relevant pace to your touch points. It also helps you ensure that your larger donors are truly receiving that elevated experience compared to general donors. This document becomes your plan. You can filter by type of touch point, by month in which it happens, responsible party, donor segment, etc. This enables you to make sure no donor falls through the cracks and that you are layering on your time and task management processes with the donor engagement plan to make sure all tasks are accounted for. To use the calendar as a tool for implementing the plan, gather everyone who's responsible for creating and coordinating elements of the plan together monthly to review what's planned for in the next 3 months. Make sure everything is on track. If it's not, this provides a line of sight to course correct anything that might not be going to plan. We thought it also might be helpful to share a case study. This one comes from our friends at Arkansas Food Bank. We walked them through creating a donor engagement plan that mapped out their catalog of assets, acknowledgement plan, and donor experiences, just like we've showed you today. So as they've shared, as a relationship manager, I am now able to build out a yearly touchpoint plan for each of the donors in my portfolio. It has allowed me to be more creative and intentional with my touchpoints. The best news is last year I was able to grow my major gift portfolio revenue by 25% year over year in a year where a lot of nonprofits were seeing decreases in revenue. So we find when organizations have a clear plan for donor engagement, it allows relationship managers to focus on one-to-one touch points, while donor relations staff handle everything that is one to few or one to many. It helps you work smarter, not harder, because it gives you a line of sight as to what is coming up next. This allows you to leverage the energy you put into mass market communications for major donors to help them deepen their engagement with your mission.
Perfect. So a few final lessons learned from our experience in the form of key takeaways here. Start simple. You have your big catalog of assets now, or once you go through this practice, so you can always add in touch points. But start with what you and your team can feasibly deliver and deliver well. That's very key. Meet as a team at least monthly to walk through upcoming touch points and to work out any logistics that may need to be sorted. Use anything that you create as broadly as possible. Don't reinvent the wheel every single time we are creating a touch point. We are going to take action. Tweak the delivery for top donors if needed, but in general, we want this as broadly used as possible to best use your time. And most importantly, don't suppress your top donors from your email program. Rather, coordinate with marketing communications to curate which ones they receive. You have far too much opportunity in your database to create a duplicate communication function for major gifts.